Hello everyone, this is John Liebman. Welcome to ForBassPlayersOnly.com. Today we're talking with a major force in the music world, bass player and founding member of Atlanta-based supergroup Collective Soul, Will Turpin. Last time anybody counted, Collective Soul had racked up some 7 #1 hits and 19 top 40 singles. Will has just released a brand new 5-song solo EP on the GUI record label titled The Lighthouse. Welcome, Will.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here.
Well, glad to have you. I want to get to Lighthouse and a few other things, but first I want to ask you about those early years. I know you've been surrounded by music pretty much your whole life. I understand your father was a big musical influence on you with the studio and all of that. Tell us about your musical upbringing.
Yeah, I guess it was just kind of all around me from my earliest memories. Music for me would have been, my father owned a recording studio, and the studio was no less than maybe 2 or 3 blocks away from my home. So at the earliest ages, I could even just ride my bike to the studio and would hang out, and certain sessions I wouldn't be welcome at, but I got to see a lot of the recording industry firsthand. From, like I said, from my earliest memories, from 9, 10 years old. And for me, almost every instrument was at my fingertips, so I started playing lots of instruments really early.
Did you get to help out at the studio or do any of the any of the work there?
I cut some drum tracks for some demos. By the time I was 13 or 14 years old, I would get paid about $100 for a drum track.
Ooh, that's a lot of money for a 13 or 14-year-old.
Oh yeah. I thought that was great.
And well, you mentioned that you played several instruments. I know ultimately you ended up a bass player. I know you're more than just a bass player, but drums, bass. What else were you playing? Did you have a main instrument, or were you playing pretty much anything and everything?
Yeah, I still consider piano my main instrument, and that would have been the first instrument that I guess drum set would have been about the same time, but drum set and piano were the first instruments that I focused time on, and that would have been around 9, 10 years old on both of those instruments. I learned a little bit of music theory and started putting that together with my ear, which I found was... my ear was something that was definitely there as far as understanding melody and harmony. I connected the dots with the piano. So I still, in my mind, almost every instrument I play, if there's actually notes involved other than hand drums and stuff, I still think of things in my mind on a keyboard. Even when I play bass, I think of the notes and the harmonic structure of what's going on in the song. In my mind, I'm thinking of it on a keyboard, really, not on a fretted instrument, just because, piano was my first instrument, and like I said, still considered my main instrument.
I remember hearing one time that Phil Woods, who's a very high-profile jazz saxophone player, pictures a keyboard in his head when he's playing and when he's soloing.
Yeah, I guess there's always some way that the musician has to figure out a way to communicate to his hands what he wants to do, because he's got to go from your mind to your hands, obviously. But I find that it's not really a choice for me, but I find that, I'm always thinking about things on a keyboard, no matter what instrument I'm on.
I read somewhere that you've got some interesting perspectives on the convergence of rhythm, harmony, and melody. Could you share some of those thoughts?
I don't know where this conversation started, but yeah, I've definitely, studied music through college, and a lot of, you really look at music history, and you can go back to, the earliest forms of tribal music, whether it's drums or, once harmony and melody were introduced. You start getting up into vocalizations and Gregorian chants, and before you know it, you're dealing with Beethoven. exactly what I was talking about. But yeah, I got a lot of ideas or a lot of thoughts on how it comes to be, and what is it about. I guess the question that I bring to mind that makes me really start to wonder is, what is it about frequencies and the alignment of such frequencies that feels good to a human when it goes through their eardrum and it hits their brain? What is that makes you, it can totally change the way you feel. It can accentuate the way you already feel. It can do so many things just with just basically frequencies is what it comes down to. It breaks down to numbers. So what is that? I don't know. But I've got some interesting thoughts on that. So, I mean, I don't know where to go with it or not, but that's kind of what intrigues me.
As a bass player, you're thinking a lot more than just 1-5-1-5, huh?
No, yeah, I am, but you definitely got to know how to do that as a bass player.
Yeah, you do. You got to do it in time, too, and make it feel good. For BassPlayersOnly.com.